up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music. I am in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at the Sweetwater headquarters, and I'm hanging out with my friend from Sweetwater, Brian. How's it going, man?
It's nice to be here, Marty. Thank you very much for having me.
I've enjoyed hanging out with you before we started rolling here, and you're a fantastic guitar player, by the way.
I appreciate
I was
that.
hearing some beautiful music. But this video, we pulled out from Sweetwater here, affordable acoustic guitars.
Absolutely. Probably one of the most perplexing decisions a person can make is, what do I buy first?
So what we did here, and what you helped with, is we got just some acoustics here, all under $500.
Right. We wanted to focus on affordable guitars for someone's first purchase, that they're not, maybe not a collector or someone who's getting into it from the angle that, well, I just want the best right out of the gate. Somebody who is maybe a little bit nervous if it's going to stick with them, or if it's something that they're going to do, whether that be an adult or a child, especially a child as a gift or something, where it's like, we don't know how much we want to put into it because we don't know if they're going to stick with us. That's the things I hear all the time.
Me too. Let's talk about the features that you think about when you're looking for an acoustic guitar. I know one that I'll mention is that every beginner thinks about is the action. Right, the distance off the fret, because if the strings are super far off the fret and you're a beginner, I mean, it's going to just feel impossible to get a tone out of it.
Correct, and it's hard already. Just playing guitar in general is a very unusual sensation to your fingertips, especially when you start out before you've built calluses up. When you buy a guitar from a place like Sweetwater, you're going to have someone who's already looked at the instrument, already made sure that there's not a defect.
Right.
I'm sure that you could still find guitars out in the market, whether that be used or so forth, that are going to have poor action, whether they were cared for poorly or not, but that is not a factor here.
Right.
When you talk about playability, it's very important to a novice player to be able to play their first few chords down here, what we refer to lovingly as the cowboy chords. If you can't fret your first few chords, then so many of those students will just sort of fall off the map within months. It's really sad. The amount of people that buy their first guitar versus the amount that buy their second is a really drastic fall off for a lot of kids.
I've worked hard on trying to raise those levels.
Absolutely, you've done a great job. I have kids in the store who told me that you were the OG, that they learned how to play songs by watching you.
That is
and
awesome.
These are 20 and 22-year-old guys,
I love it.
so that's a great compliment.
Oh,
I mean, because
it feels great.
some of these guitar players are fantastic.
I know.
So you've done the right thing and made people.
I don't know. Did I? Now they're all better than me. So anyway, you make me proud.
That should be
That's all right.
the honor. That should
they
be
make
the
me
honor
proud
of it.
The other aspect of like a more affordable acoustic is staying in tune.
Absolutely. Staying in tune is going to be a product of what we like to call the tuning keys, also the nut, the quality of the nut, and the pins and the bridge saddle. So everything kind of works together to keep your guitar in better tune. As you know, most of the nice acoustic guitars that have the built-in electronics, there's also a tuner on a lot of these guitars built right in, which is another great advantage.
Right.
But technology has changed so that most of the affordable guitars now have really nice sealed tuners with permanently greased tuning keys, and just stuff that's going to help you have a better guitar for a longer period of time.
Nice. Now, the other thing that you did mention, and this guitar I see has it, is being able to plug it in and play it out of an amplifier.
Absolutely, which I am plugged into.
Yeah, and that intro we were playing, you were actually going out of the amp.
I do want to clarify this. A lot of entry-level players or their parents do think that the word acoustic electric means both an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar. It really means an acoustic guitar that can be amplified. This particular guitar has some wonderful electronics. Usually you're going to have some sort of EQ. You're going to see the words active electronics, which tends to mean that there is a battery in here that helps the function of the electronics. I believe that Epiphone also has active electronics, and they're inside the sound hole. So sometimes you'll see external preamp, and sometimes you'll see what is called an internal preamp.
Yeah, so I can feel in here a couple of rotary knobs or
correct,
levers.
like a volume and a tone.
Yeah. And on this one, the pin is actually where you plug in the cable.
Absolutely.
Whereas on this one, you've got a separate input jack.
That's correct.
All right, so one of the last things to think about with a guitar is whether to get a cutaway or not. Now, the guitar you're holding is actually referred to as a cutaway, where it's a piece is taken out. And so what's the concept behind that?
The concept behind the cutaway has always been that many acoustic players who want to dabble in some of the higher notes during their leads, this makes it comfortable to go up higher on the neck.
Right.
Rather than get into some sort of classical position. I don't find that it affects the tone very much.
Oh, like if there was more wood or
Yeah, I
less
don't. I
wood.
really don't find that
Yeah.
to be the case. I think aesthetically, some people like the traditional look and some people like this look.
Yeah.
I think you should weigh your options, and I don't think you're making a wrong decision either way.
Yeah, I agree. I've always been a kind of a traditionalist. I like just I would probably choose this because I just like the classic.
Sure.
But some people like a more modern.
Absolutely. There are modern guitars that have wild paint jobs,
Yeah.
you know, even acoustics.
You talked about one aspect of the kind of old mentality that you have to learn on acoustic first. And I've totally put that aside. I don't think that's true anymore because the most important thing to start on guitar is being inspired.
If I ask a potential student or a potential buyer, what do you want to play? And they say, I want to play AC/DC and Ozzy. Then I tell the parents, this is just going to make him not want to play guitar.
Right,
Get him an
right.
electric guitar.
Right. However, this is the best. Acoustic is best for playing Wonderwall.
Absolutely. It's also great because someone can practice on a couch with no additional pieces to the pie. You know,
Right.
I mean, you can sit and you can work things out quietly in your room. And
Right. So anyway, here's Wonderwall. All right, well, let's talk about the guitar that you're holding right now. Is it a Fender?
It is a Fender. It's called a Redondo, and it's, as you can see, a beautiful gloss black finish. Has what they call the Viking bridge. I think that's just stylistically what they call it.
Yeah.
One thing that the Fender Acoustic does that I'm a little bit partial to is that they use their traditional electric style headstock,
Yeah.
which I think is cool. It's their classic headstock. This is a wonderful playing instrument. It's between $400 and $500. Does have the cutaway, as we spoke about. Has wonderful Fishman electronics built into it. This would be a wonderful guitar for someone who feels like they want a very, very comfortable, not very big neck, very Fender electric style neck with a beautiful gloss black body. I like the gold pick guard. It's a wonderful value. It sounds wonderful. Dreadnought body shape, lots of deep lows and brilliant highs. It's a wonderful guitar.
Now, this is an Epiphone Hummingbird Pro. Now, some people might not know this, but Epiphone is like the affordable division of Gibson.
That is
right?
correct, yeah.
So Fender they just do all the, well, they have Squire.
They do. They go down to Squire, but Fender does not use Squire in their acoustic
Acoustics,
division.
okay.
Correct. And Epiphone has pretty much the whole Gibson line to a point, and then you shift to the USA Gibson. This is a guitar based on a classic, you know, the Hummingbird.
Right.
You're going to be between $400 and $500 with this, whereas the Gibson Hummingbird is thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Much more expensive, but a wonderful handmade USA guitar. This is a wonderful, affordable version of the same guitar with very similar features.
Right. So one difference on this, they're both around the same price.
Correct.
This one's not cutaway. Obviously a different finish, different color, a little ornamentation on the pick guard. If you think that's pretty, you know, it adds an aesthetic to it. It's also got the electronics, but the controls are inside the hole here, so
Right.
you can plug it in. And then with a Gibson or an Epiphone, the neck scale length, this one's a little shorter.
A little bit shorter
than that one.
That's correct, yep.
Now, I guess, does that just make the strings a little less taut
It does. It's more noticeable on electric guitars with
Right.
lighter strings.
when you want to do those bends?
Right. This also has, you know, traditionally the 3-a-side headstock versus the Fender looking 6 on one side. This has a nice inlay on the fingerboard rather than just the dot. I think that you and I would agree that we would call this more of a classic look and this
Yeah.
more modernized.
Yeah.
They're both wonderful choices. Both play very well. Both sound really well, as you heard when we did the intro.
Yeah, here, I'll play it a little bit. But they both have just been really impressive, especially for the price that you're
Absolutely.
getting into. A lot of resonance, a lot of sustain there.
Very nice.
And you know, the cool thing about acoustic is you feel the vibration through your body too.
Absolutely. On a nice resonant guitar, which both of these are, you get a little feedback. Not really feedback in the traditional, in the electric sense, but feedback from the instrument on how it sounds. You can tell these are both nice resonant instruments that project well out the front.
Well, how about we look at 2 more guitars?
Let's do it.
Let's give them some variety.
Absolutely.
So we've got 2 more choices here, and I want to talk about this one because this is, I think, an amazing deal. First of all, your playing was beautiful, but the guitar sounded beautiful, and this is like $299.
Absolutely. This is the Dangelico Bowery, and for $299, it's an incredible value. It's a mahogany guitar, top, back, and sides. It's got a wonderfully beautiful thin neck with a satin finish on it. The whole thing has what they kind of call their worn mahogany finish, which to me just adds to the warmth coming out the front. As you heard, it has a fabulous set of electronics in it with a built-in tuner, bass, mid, and treble, so it's fully active. It has really kind of hip headstock. If you look at that, very regal. Yeah, yes. Very regal looking with the wonderful tuning keys. It's just really stands out in this price range. Again, like you said, under $300, and just there's nothing you can find about it that isn't a positive spin. I would feel fully confident if it was a beginner student or an adult that's getting into it. I don't see anything about this guitar that would have to keep you away.
Now I agree. Now at Sweetwater, you guys have a whole inspection process.
We do. We have what is called our guitar gallery. Our guitar gallery, it's a massive endeavor to literally receive tens of thousands of guitars, get them to come up to temperature correctly in a humidified environment so that there's no damage from getting off a cold truck. They unbox every guitar, they inspect everything about it, they photograph it. It goes through a process with individual real people looking over every detail, making sure that you don't get a guitar that has a defect or some sort of playability issue.
Right. That's really important, especially buying online and not getting to test the guitar out first.
Absolutely. It takes the trepidation away of, oh, I don't know if this plays good. I'm just looking at a picture. Well, someone here's job is to make sure that it played the way it's supposed to, and we make sure that it ships to you the way the factory wanted it, which is really important because factories have a set of specifications that they feel is ideal for their instrument, and we make sure that we're holding our end of the bargain up and giving you added value by doing the work for you rather than just sending you a box that someone sent to us. That's just not our style.
All right, so let's talk about this guitar here. This is Takamini.
Takamini.
Now this feels really solid, and it has a really nice bright sound to it. Once again, we've got the satin finish.
That is correct.
Which, if you've noticed, the earlier guitars had a gloss, you know, where there was more of a reflection. This has like a softer look to it.
It does. When you're in the more expensive guitars, the gloss finishes can be nitrocellulose and be very thin, but in this range, the polyurethane finishes, when they're gloss, they're a little bit thicker, so you can get a little more broken in sounding guitar with a satin finish on it in this price range. And the thing about Takamini is one of those brands that is absolutely a legitimate contender. When you see artists, there are a ton of high-profile artists that use Takamini guitars. This is not a low-end company. Right. You know, you're talking the Garth Brookses of the world,
John Bon Jovi.
Absolutely, Bruce Springsteen. Lots of
John Bon Jovi.
Well, I can
John
see.
Bon Jovi.
I can see we've hit something near and dear to your heart, or shot through your heart.
Dude,
I'm to blame.
Yeah. So this one is more in the like high 400 range.
Yes, yeah.
But like you said, this is you know, higher to a professional level acoustic.
Absolutely. That guitar could bridge the gap between your first guitar and something you keep around and use to gig with. I mean,
Right.
there would be no reason that you couldn't go out and play a performance with that tonight. It's ready to go. And truthfully, all of the guitars we've looked at today
For sure.
are just of a quality level that, as we said earlier, so much higher than it used to be in this price range.
And both of these guitars have their own company electronics put in, whereas the other ones we played were using Fishman. But one thing I like about these, this particular one, is that you can access the battery that powers it without having to loosen the strings.
It's very important. If you're at a gig and you look down and you needed to do a battery change quickly, the 9-volt is right there.
Yeah.
This particular one, the 9-volt's down here. So they've over the last few years, they have realized that is kind of a big deal to have to loosen the strings and get in there. And the proprietary electronics on a Takamini have always been very high quality. Takamini is one of those companies that came out of the gate in the 70s as sort of a Martin clone kind of company, and quickly realized that their market was the cutaway electric market. When Garth Brooks exploded, that just opened up like, hey, we're going to focus on what we do best, which is make stage-ready guitars. Their electronics have always been top-notch. This, like I said, has a really neat proprietary electronics system. The light stays on, so you can always look down and see what needs adjusted, which is different. Most of the guitars don't do that, which I found kind of engaging. I like it.
Yeah, it looks cool.
But you're right. The Takamini guitar, that is a sort of a, for lack of a better term, a entry-level pro guitar.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
It does. So I want to thank Brian Lemert for hanging out. Obviously, we're at Sweetwater. These guitars have actually really blown me away. It's been a while since I've played like the newest line of guitars, and I'm really impressed. We're going to have links for all of these guitars down below, so you can check those out. And I'm going to play this one out. We didn't hear this one quite as much, so I'm going to play us out. And I just appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you real soon. All right, let's see what I got.